So I've decided I want to make changes to this uBitx. Now I've got this one complete. I want to change the programming and I want to experiment with things, but I don't want to bother this one because I want to use it on the air. And I actually think I'll probably be doing more development of this than using it on the air, but that's another issue. So how can I make changes to this without taking down the radio? So I've decided to build another Arduino. So I've started with this NANO, and I want to make a dev board, a development board. All I want to do is develop code on it and test it. I don't want to impact the one that's in this, so I can use it if I want to. So I started with a NANO, found me a 1602 LCD. Now this has a serial adapter on it, and that's one of the changes I want to make, is I want to make this serial. So the next thing I need is a rotary encoder. Now I bought these rotary encoders. They have flimsy pins that won't accept a jumper cable. So I got some headers and just soldered on. They're just adapters. No big deal. So I need that. I need a bunch of wires. But when I got to seeing this, there's really only one I2C port on here. And I don't really want to mess around with programming something else. I looked at using an UNO. And I thought that's going to be so much easier. I got a lot more pins, a lot more interfaces. But there's a funny thing about an UNO. It doesn't bring out A6 and A7 anywhere that you can use it. Now I did find a shield that brings out A6 and A7, and I ordered one and I'll try it. I'd much rather had the UNO. A lot more, it's bigger, a lot easier to work with. But can't use it because it doesn't have A6 or 7, in which case I'd have to reprogram even more. Don't want to do that. So I found a breakout board for the NANO. The NANO will mount right on top of it. Now, what is so great about this? Well, it has A0 to A7 and then A0 to A5. So I've automatically doubled the number of things I can plug in. So I can use 4 and 5, 4 and 5. That's 2 I2C ports. But it also has an I2C port right here, SCL and SDA. So that gives me 3. Plus, the main reason I like these breakout boards is it gives me all of these +5 and ground connections. You need those. So I thought this would be easier to cable up. So what about this? So I need 4 connections. Now I use red for VCC when I can, but in reality I always run out of cables. Black, but I've ran out of cables for ground, so I'll use that. And I'll use blue and brown for SDA and SCL. So I'll use 4 and 5. Very easy to get to. Another plus. So, and here's what I like. There's all of these ground and voltage jumpers. There we go. So theoretically I could turn this on now. I kind of cheated, I already programmed the NANO. If I plug this in, see what happens. There we go. So that's a nice display, but I don't have any way to control it. That's where this comes in. Now, I've already made one change to that and put my call sign on it. So unplug it. Let's keep going. How about this? So I've got plenty of connectors here. So we're going to we'll do the push button. So I need a ground and an A02. So what about this side? I need 3 connections. I'll do a ground. And here again, this thing has a ton of grounds. I need 2 more cables for A and B. There's A, B. And that's A0 and A1. I'll plug those in. If it tunes backwards, I'll change it. plug it back in. There we go. So it's up and running. Let's go ahead and try to tune. What you can't see on this, but if you have a bigger display you can see, is it went into transmit mode. They tell you on the website that when you start this that it could accidentally go into transmit, and that's because it's sensing the keyer, and it sees the keyer at 0 volts, so of course it's transmitting. So what you have to do, even for a dev board, so you have to do a keyer, and you don't actually have to attach it to the keyer. You really only need this. Okay, so you have to connect one of these to +5, and here again there's plenty of connections. You can put that about anywhere on +5. This goes out to A06, and there's 7, so it's one from the end. So as soon as I plug that in, it went to lower sideband, which means it's not trying to transmit. You can see it's tuning. The push button works. Now, there's one thing I don't like and I want to change, is when you go into the menus and exit, nothing displays. And I realize they only put that display on there to let you know it was coming up and working. In reality, I want that there all the time. So this is a 1602, and you notice that there's some characters out here that you can't see. So here's my dev board. I can make changes to the code. I can test it. Mostly what I want to work on is the menuing system. I want to adapt the LCD to a 2004. I want to change the role, more information on the screen. So this little development system will help me make changes to the Arduino without impacting my radio. So the first thing I did in a change was make this serial, and I went into the code and changed that. You do have to go in and change the library that it references. So what if I want to go to a 2004? Well, I can simply unplug that one and plug this one in. So let's see if it works. There we go. Now, it turns out the green's a little easier to read. But I bought blue, green, and yellow different LCDs, and I want to try all of them. But now, if I go into the menu system, you remember on the other one I didn't have the 1. So if I go into the menu system, band select, the 1 stays there. You can't see that on the other one because it's only 16 and this is 20. Okay, so I took off the 3.5mm jack. I want to see if I can send it into transmit again. It actually has TX at the end. So the code provides for more than 16 digits. This thing will only display 16. There actually is a transmit on the end of that. It's odd I can't get it to go in the transmit, but it was going in with no problems. So here's a Arduino development system. You can make all the code changes you want. You can test them on the screen. You can test the rotary encoder. You can even test the SI5351 with this little breakout board. So connect it up, put a frequency counter on that, and you can test. So verify it works. So here's a nice little Arduino development system. Make all the changes you want, won't impact your radio. When you're ready for this, you can simply take this and swap for the other. Although it's not that easy, because when he soldered those in, where I soldered these with the pins under, he soldered the pins above. When I make the final changes, I'll do a video of installing that and you'll see the difference. I actually have one of these that's not soldered. I'm going to have to solder backwards. Okay, so Arduino development system. It went in the transmit. There we go. See, it's flickering between CW and LSB, and there's a TX out there. So the code is already written for a 2004. It's just that by default it's only going to display the first 16 characters because that's what the display is. So that's one of the reasons I want this, more options. And I've noticed that if I take one of these and put back on A6, it should stop transmitting. There, it did. So I can remove that either of these pins and it'll transmit and it'll stop. Now, one of the things I've noticed, that doesn't go away ever. Once it comes on, it doesn't go away. So there is some code adjustments to make for a 2004. Fairly easy to make. If you like the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.